Welcome to the Wolfkeeper, a show that's just about everything that you can maybe think about, everything that you can feel that's inside of your heart. What I need for you to do right now is spend the next hour relaxing. Just stop your day before you go into 12 o'clock. And I just want y'all to close your minds, open your hearts, and relax and go on this journey with me. It's a beautiful place that you're about to go, because I want to make you feel, I want to just open you up and think about some things you never really thought about. Right now, the Wolfkeeper. Come on. Good morning, y'all. Come on. It's the Wolfkeeper Show. Get ready. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. It's the Wolfkeeper Show. Your boy, Toriano, Sanzone. Yeah. Chanelly Nell. My boy Tyrone Scott somewhere rocking the Doogie Dogs. Denzel's in his house. Shacky Shack. Hey, for all the people out there that love us, we love you back. Thank you all. Get ready for an amazing show with the Wolfkeeper. Get ready. Here we go.
Hey there.
Good morning. Happy Sunday. Good morning.
Nelly Nell, how you feel?
I'm feeling good.
Morning. Happy Sunday.
Buenos dias, mi hermano.
Say it again.
Pasó?
Not much. Just joining Toriano.
Just started. Feeling good?
Feeling good.
Hey man, I'm so excited to have you on our show. You and I were chatting before. You are for real my hero, because you have lived and born in some of the most fascinating places on the planet. How you feeling, man? How's your energy?
It's going well. It seems like my daughter has heard us singing and she's about to join the party here.
I woke her up.
We need more girl power.
So tell me about your software, because yesterday we had Chris Roy on, flies around the world.
I love Chris Roy.
You know Chris Roy?
I do.
Chris Roy's a beast. Now look, you know that you are so similar, because Chris Roy does tech and he flies his plane in picks up dogs from point A to point B. And basically, you have designed the tech that can help Chris Royce. Tell us about your company. Let's get right into it.
Absolutely. So Adopets is a pet adoption platform. What we do really is a pet adoption management system, meaning that we help shelters and rescues to use our system to engage with adopters, simplify their adoption process, collecting applications, signing contracts of, adoption contracts, basically collecting the adoption fees, engaging their community of adopters with notifications at every step of the way, knowing exactly what is happening when it's happening. Our platform is designed to expedite that experience, make it better, and create more connections in between people and their pets.
Wow. So where did that brainchild come from? Like, what got you to that point of like, hey, this is what I'm going to do? Because tech is not cheap to develop. I know myself as a developer, you talk about the gate 60, 80 grand just to make it kind of work. I mean, that's commitment. That's like an ultimate marriage. You're in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as anyone else, Toriano, like you, like any of us, really, we want to do something right, and we put the time and we put the effort, and we find a way to do so. I don't think it's easy necessarily, but it's doable. In our case, it meant that for the first 3 years of doing it, I had a full-time job, I had gigs on the side, and just to fit up the resources that we needed to make this happen in the first place. Also meant that I had to connect with the right people that could help me in the right ways, and there are plenty of good souls out there that helped me bring this to reality. Nowadays, we have an incredible team of 25 people, but for the most part, there were 4 of us that really were in it not for the money, and we were spending money, not making any, and just because we truly believed in what we done.
I love that. You said there's plenty of good souls that are out there, man. I love you, man. Brazilian people, man, you all just have a certain love, man. I mean, that's my brother.
Yeah.
Do you have any dogs?
I do. I have 2. I have the one that was the trigger for building Adopets. His name is Frisco.
Frisco.
When we adopted him, it's what led to, hey, let's try to help it out, make this better, and led to the creation of this company. And he's going to be 5 years this year. And I have another one called Rio. They are all called, after different cities that meant something to us. Rio, where I was born.
Now, is your wife from Brazil also?
No, she is from Maine. Born in Maine, raised in Massachusetts.
Okay. Have you taught her Portuguese? Has she learned the language?
She scares me sometimes that she understands it better than I would assume she does, and she hears my gossiping Portuguese with my friend. But she is not quite there yet. She can understand it, and she communicates back in English, but not speaking much. This one is learning to speak a little bit better. She's brilliant.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you say your dog was part of the motivation for building the app. Tell me about that. Like, how was the dog part of the motivation of building the app?
Yeah, so my wife and I, like any other millennials, like Chanel, we decided that we wanted to adopt a pet first before we wanted to have kids. We had just gotten married. We decided that it was a good time to have one.
Okay.
And we went through the adoption process. Now, the process was, to my taste, and I could have been wrong, was a little bit too troublesome in that process, being that there's plenty of platforms online for you to find adoptable pets, which, Pet Finder or Adopted.Pet.com, really great platforms, great companies out there. You go in, you type in your zip code, you see pets around you. Now, in between seeing a pet online and actually going through the process of adopting a pet is a completely different gap.
Right.
And my thought was that gap, it actually creates a lot of trouble, not just for the adopter, that at that point is such an emotionally engaging experience. You just want to bring that pet home.
Yeah.
And it is super emotional. You want to make sure that things are getting there. You are actually ready to bring that dog home same day, sometimes in the same hour even. But the process that we have to go through, it's not really like that when we talk about going to shelters, shelters are super fast and awesome to adopt a pet from. When we go there, usually you can get out of there within an hour, 2 hours with a pet already. But the process of finding your match takes a little bit of time, which is why people spend most of the time in the adoption process online before they actually evolve into bringing it back home. So we wanted to fill in that gap. We wanted to fill in that gap and make the adoption process a more comfortable experience for who is adopting as well as for who is taking care of that animal.
Isn't that amazing how complicated? Were you aware of that, Jamil? How complicated? I mean, sometimes I joke and tell people that they have a better chance of adopting a child from Kenya than adopting a dog.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very. And I saw that firsthand in 2004. I'll never forget. There was a guy named Monte.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. Aw.
All right, I'm back.
Dad life.
You know how we girls are. We gotta have our way.
Oh, she controls
Give us
me
what
like
we
a
want.
puppet.
Aw, she's so cute.
And this COVID pandemic, and we are always working from home, so she's getting the habit of just wanting to say hi, amigos.
Yeah.
And I'm,
Okay,
it is.
so we were talking. You discovered a real issue because when I started, I didn't even know that was a thing, and it's truly a thing. And I didn't know it was a thing until like I got involved in the pet industry 20 years ago when Monte Servan, county sheriff, dad of 3, business owner, real estate owner, super good guy. I mean, Cub Scout leader, went to go adopt. He said, I want to adopt a pit bull. I'm like, oh, cool, awesome. Like, I know, let me send you to my friend. And he called me up. Dude, where'd you send me? I'm like, what? Like, dude, they said I can't adopt a dog. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, why? Like, I didn't pass, like, their, like, qualification list. I'm like, dude, you got it. Called her up.
That's so crazy to me.
Like, what's up? He's like, why did you, like, deny? She's like, yeah, it was just something about him I just didn't like. I'm like, you didn't like? I'm like, you don't even get any more ideal. But some of the pet, I love all my pet people out there that are doing adoption. Don't take this the wrong way because that's God's work for sure. If you're taking the time, especially people that are living with dogs and fostering other people, but sometimes people, they get attached to the animal. Because even for me, like at any given time, I'm rotating 10, 15 dogs for the last 20 years through my home and through my business. So some dogs I love them. I get attached to them. Like I like them, but I learned a long time ago they have to go back home. They have to go somewhere because I already have. I personally have. Every dog I have is a rescue. People don't like. I haven't bought it. Someone gave me. I was given 2 French bulldogs that made more French bulldogs, but I didn't. I have my own thing about spay and neuter. Don't shoot me, shelter people out there. But I adopted those dogs. Right, my Doberman was given to me. My American Bull. Every dog I have is a rescue. Right, they're just fancy rescues. They're expensive dogs that people go out and get. But it's because I get attached to them. Like, you want this dog? I'm like, like no. So I get people are looking for the ideal home, but you created an app platform to help people navigate through that process. So just for people that might not, take the time to download the app, or someone that's not, because the app is super interesting. Can you just walk us through real briefly of how the app works for people, just so it's super fun and entertaining?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me, I would just give one step back before getting into the app itself, which is just agreeing with you on it's God's work, right? All of our community, the work that they're doing is incredible. And it's nothing that we've done was actually to critique, but it was based on 2 assumptions. Is that, well, finding the right match matters. And the other assumption was that, but at the same time, we can find the right match without being so troublesome and sometimes hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's natural from an anthropological perspective. It's natural that us as human beings, we will always try to overcorrect. So we came in from a context in the early 2000s, 90s, 80s, in which we had so many animals abandoned and so many animals being killed and euthanized because of lack of space and whatnot, and animal cruelty and all of those bad things. And you have this community of incredible people that have changed that around this country, and they changed that perspective completely. Now, the heritage of that is an overcorrection. Now, it was too easy to get animals, so people were they were abandoning them. There were just too many, and then we will overcorrect. Now we're going to make it a little bit harder for people so they understand that they have to be responsible when they're doing this. And then naturally we'll find the middle ground, which is what the shelter community is expanding on, which is an open adoption. San Diego Humane Society, which is one of our partners, for instance, their application process is actually just give me your name, your address, so we know where you are, and that's it. There's no judgment on whether or not you're qualified to get a pet. And that's the direction that we as a community are walking towards. So we have anyone in the spectrum of highly complex 11-page long adoption applications to the San Diego example, which is barely any questions asked. And we will find a better system over time, and we're doing better already. So there's no critique to the work that they do. Now, what the app and the platform does really is that, okay, we do need to collect some level of information to ensure that we have what we need to make that adoption a success. Why don't we use a system that will automatize steps of that process in a way that I'm not actually doing that as a staff in the shelter, and I can focus my time on helping that animal to get a walk, to get food, to get treatment, to do things that matter to the infrastructure of the shelter, rather than looking at pages in an application that is being sent over to me within a PDF inside of an email, and then I have to read that through. That's too complex.
Yeah.
So what the system does is that we organize the whole experience in steps of the adoption process that will be natural to basically all organizations, which is I need to receive that information from the person that has the interest of adopting this pet. The system captures that info. It displays on one of the things that I'm the proudest of in our platform is really the user experience and design of the system. So we really displays very easily which animals have which people interested in adopting them. You see they're up there, inquire, you decide whether or not that's a good one. You might have to call in to schedule a meet and greets. Nowadays, virtual meet and greets, a Zoom meeting with the animal or something. Instead of you having to call in mail. In my case, in my adoption process, there were over 50 mails exchanged on agreeing on time and date and this and that. In our case, the system automatically sends them an email with the link, so they schedule the time on their own. So I click in, like pretty much like we schedule our talk, Toriano, just click the link, and then they book the time for their adoption counseling call. The system automatically lets other adopters know that that animal is no longer available for adoption if somebody else has adopted. The system automatically let them know that now it's time to sign the contract for their adoption, which they do online on their phone, on their computer, tablets, whichever device they're using, and pay the adoption fee and donate to the organization, and can add even products that the organizations that have those shelters with the pet stores that they have in there to help attract more funding for the organization. They can add products to that adoption experience. So by the time the person come in to pick up their dog, they already had bought a leash and a bag of food from the shelter, and helping drive more revenue to the shelter, more efficiency to the shelter.
It's not free, right? The shelter, do they pay for the app? They buy the software?
Not really, actually. The way that we work is that they don't pay monthly fees to use the platform. They don't pay annual fees or anything like that. The only times in which we have a fee is when we are processing the adoption fee in the platform. So let's say it's a free adoption, there's no fee. Then you have a paid adoption of, $50. Then we have a $5 fee that the adopter chooses to cover. That $5 fee covers both the credit card fee, so the shelter actually gets a full $50. So it covers the credit card fee, which is usually 2.2 to 2.9%, depending on the credit card. And whatever is left is Adopets.
Oh, very cool.
It's effectively free for shelters and rescues to use.
Okay, so it's almost like a software. You guys make your money. You make your percentage off the adoption fee then. If there is adoption fee, but if there's no adoption fee, you guys don't charge.
How much is the adoption fee?
It varies.
It can vary.
The shelters are what you
Okay.
define. Yeah. So we have shelters up north that will be $100, $150, $200. You have shelters in the south that is mostly free or $10 adoption fee. So it really depends on the area.
So you don't.
Okay.
So is this only exclusive to shelters, or can someone that's just doing rescue out of their home use this platform?
They can, as long as they have they are a registered entity. So we cannot do as an individual, but we can do. Doesn't matter if you're a shelter or a rescue, as long as you are registered as an entity, then you can use the platform.
Okay, so as long as you are an actual registered company.
Yeah, incorporated company. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just, hey, I have 10 dogs in my house and they all need to find homes and I use the software. I can't. Will the software not allow them to actually? There's some place on there that won't allow them to go any further. That actually require company information.
That's correct. So we the onboarding process is customized to each one of the organizations that want to use Adopets. So they work with our team as we set up the system for each individual one. Everyone works a little bit different, so there are customizations that we can do to the system for each one of those clients. So no one can really get into the system and just create an account as a shelter on their own and start using it. There's a process of training and getting them ready to have that process shift in their communities.
Who created the software? Who's like the actual?
The developer itself?
Yeah.
We actually have an incredible CTO that is my partner, my co-founder, Andrea. Back in the day, my other co-founder, Lucas, had built the apps that we had. Nowadays, we have we are 25 people total, and 14 or 15 of those are in the tech team. So we have all kinds of people there building it.
That's always. I mean, that's because I have two apps. I have one out Wolfkeeper. And then I developed another social media app. So I just, I love that's just that tech talk. Like who's doing your back end and front end. So that's all. I mean, you're super. Man, I love you, brother, because you're super modest. You're super humble for sure. But that's a lot of work. I mean, to have an app that's up and functional and running, and the way that you are. I mean, that's super generous because some places would say, hey, if you don't charge for the adoption fee, doesn't matter. If you're going to use our platform, you're going to pay anyway. So that's very cool that you're doing like this social giving back and fluctuating, working with the shelters.
Well, Toriano, in a way, isn't it the same that you do? Like when you're working with someone, we know that we can grow better if we are together, instead of trying to take advantage of each other. And in this community, we have that impression at first, whenever we're talking about pet industry, it's such a billionaire industry, right? And we're talking about pet industry, usually, and I work, we have investors behind Adopets. We have been through some of the most awesome tech accelerators in the planet. And working through with these guys, the first impression of the pet industry, well, that's going to be $100 billion by 2022 and whatever. In our case, it's like, well, it is a massive industry, but the customer that we work with, which is a shelter, more often than not, depend so much on public funding, personal donations, individual donations to even do the basic work that they have to do. And we are not in here to make it more complex. We are not another dinosaur software that is coming in to say, oh, you're going to pay this much, and it's an exclusive contract, and you can, to get out of the contract, you got to pay me $10,000. For us, all we ask you is that give us a heads up 30 days before you're out so we can organize things and help us make it better. Help us understand what nobody's forced to stay. You stay because it helps. If it doesn't help, then there's no point.
That is, I love that. I mean, what you just said, that we're better together versus trying to take advantage. That we need that so much in the world.
Because so many people are just after, they just try to benefit from what they can get from for themselves, and they don't really look out for other people. So that's like key.
No, that's
key points.
Isn't it why we are in this COVID shit show nowadays?
Right, pretty much.
So you just said something that I've been saying from a business stance, is that's the only way we're going to get out of this is by working together. And you're on the cutting edge, I'm on the cutting edge, Chanel's on the cutting edge. We all recognize it's part of what brought us here on this podcast, because this is the future. I mean, for us to fly out to the East Coast, I'm not doing it right now. You coming here to Chicago, you're probably not. You have children, you're not going to do it. And then to go, I don't even know. Can we even get into Brazil right now? Oh no, Brazil's on fire. You don't even want to go to Brazil.
Brazil, the U.S. are right now like playing who's the first. There's a lot of competition.
I have more COVID than you.
And funnily enough, Brazilians are not accepting Americans, and Americans are not accepting Brazilians. So we're not going anywhere, basically. I have 2 citizenships, and I can't use that, which is my favorite right now at all.
Right, because the Brazilian president, he's kind of like Trump, saying like it's fake. He's not wearing his mask, and I think his wife has COVID now, something like that.
Yeah. He got it.
Oh, he
apparently.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Apparently, he got it. I think a couple weeks ago. He is very similar to the U.S. leadership right now. He actually mirrors himself in the U.S. leadership, which means that maybe both of the good things and the bad things are going to play out very similarly. We are yet to see the good ones, but the bad ones we're seeing right now.
Now, you're from one of my favorite Brazilian movies. I don't know, Chanel, have you seen City of Gods?
I haven't.
You haven't? Oh, you
No.
haven't. It's one of those movies that, now that I've told you about it, if anyone that's listening, it's just one of the movies that's amazing. Like, I just gave you a treat today. Watch that.
I'm going to watch that today.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of as real as it gets, to be honest. That movie, it's
super intense.
It's a very accurate portrait.
The favelas, if you're familiar, for those that don't know, the favelas would be what we would call the hood or the ghetto in the United States. But people don't realize, I lived in East Africa, Kenya, and the favelas or the hood over there, it's an area called Courier Core. They call courier like mail courier, and core, they spell both with a K. So it's courier, like mail courier with a K, and core with a K. It is rough. There's no place in America that competes with this. Kenyans don't all go to this area, Courier Core. It's a rough area. So Chanel, when Chanel's watching this movie there, anyone's watching this movie, how close are those favelas, like we can see? Because it's showing, like, you see the beautiful part of Brazil, you see the dancing, the food, but City of God shows you, like, the dark part of, is that real?
And to be honest, it's what we get to see more often than not internationally. It's a small portion. So the dancing and the party and the awesomeness, it's incredible. I miss Brazil for that a lot. But the reality that we see in favelas in Islam is pretty rough. My mom was working at the City of God until 2 years ago. I brought her here to help me with my kids, but she was literally working in the core of the City of God, and she would call me out of the blue, saying, getting under the car because there's a shooting happening in the middle of the street right now. And then it's just that kind of stuff happens really, really strongly. I remember when we were living in one that is called Dende, I didn't even live in the core where real bad stuff is, but I lived 2 blocks away from it. When I would do schoolwork with colleagues from school, and we would walk a block or 2 from where I lived into their house, you were already passing people with full-on machine guns and stuff on their hands and circling around. And now there is some sort of parallel structure that happens in those communities, right? In which you actually have a hierarchy of power, parallel power, but you have it. In which I remember my sister had been followed one day home, and the gangs basically protected her because she was part of the community. So there's I don't know. I think there's so much from it that not just in Brazil but anywhere in the world that we are
Yeah.
so blessed in the U.S. to not see. We have that stuff, absolutely.
Wow.
But there is, when we look at so many African countries, Latin American countries, and we see those realities that we are not even close to seeing in the U.S., and that's a good thing.
So would it be? I know it's all relative because it's like how some people here in Chicago won't come to like I'm from K Town, west side of Chicago, Fort Lauderdale. Like no, but some people honestly won't come to this area, like for real. Like they won't come. They're like it's the worst part, and it's all relative because I mean part of it is like I'm from there, so like used to it, but it doesn't compare to what I've seen in Uganda or Kenya or Nicaragua. Like those areas, it's a whole nother level. Would we be cool? Would you go? Would you walk through City of Gods? Like, are you the safe for you?
By choice, no. I would have to plan it very carefully if I actually wanted to do. I had a company offsite in Brazil in which we brought our whole team together in December last year, so 7-8 months ago. And one of the places that I was planning for us to do one of the team activities was actually closer to the entryway of Brazilian favela down there, and I intentionally did not want to stay. So I actually I do not go in feeling safely whatsoever. Not it's the same as you were to compare a bad neighborhood in here and how Americans would try to avoid that neighborhood. It would be the same feeling for me there. Now, when I'm here, we were in Dorchester, Massachusetts, around Boston, which is considered dangerous and hood and whatever. And I was living in there. And for me, I was like, I'm fine. I mean, there's nothing. So the perception of risk is completely different. Because then I'm there, which most Americans would not. Even the guy that was moving in with us was like, no, we should have stayed there. No, it's dangerous. And I'm like, why?
Right.
For me, the perception of risk is completely messed up. Because for me, it wasn't bad at all. It was actually awesome. We had a cool apartment. It was cheaper than any other neighborhood. And I'm like, I'm cool with that. But if I were to do that in Rio, I'm like, no.
Now,
Right.
you lived in Hong Kong, too, right? Were you Tokyo?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's my like dream. I want to live there too. So what? But that's like night and day. What are some things about Tokyo?
I think there's a funny story on my first week there in which I'm Brazilian, so I hug anything that moves and even things that don't move. I'm going to give them a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I went to Japan, which is both, there's a lot of formality, and there is this clear hierarchy on how you behave with someone that is older than you, and then somebody that is older than you and is of different gender. There's a lot of cultural norms in there that for me, like I had no idea. So I remember the first week there, one of the ladies that I was working with, and she was like over 60 or something. So there's the age difference that alone entitles her to have a deep respect for her person. And then there's the fact that she's a woman and I was a man. First thing I did was like, hi, big hug, and squeeze the hell out of her. And like, good morning. But that was the only time I did it. And then they explained it to me. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. But culturally speaking, was this incredible organization, Toriano, that we don't see. I haven't seen much in the world, but I don't think we see that very often. In a point that, if you say that this side of the as simple as it is, the subway, busy as it gets, like busier than New York, it's like a massive railroad there. It's a lot of people in Tokyo. And then you would imagine that would be messy, right? Like the New York subway. But you get in there, and if the left side is for people who are walking and the right side is for people who are standing, you don't see anyone distracted on their phones on the left side. Everything is respectful to the group, or things like the company that I worked with there. If you were getting earlier to the office, so you get to the parking lot is emptier, you actually park on the furthest spot. Because the mentality is that I have the time to walk to the office because I'm getting here early. If somebody gets here late, they need to get closer. So that mentality, which is like really the nice. Other one above me, is a evolving society.
That's super cool.
And I need to pack up and move because I'm always late.
That would totally benefit you at the first spot.
Like, let me get the first spot.
That's
I mean, even I do is nature. Like, oh, score! Just out of the door.
Right.
How long were you in Tokyo?
A little less than a year, and then I decided to come to the U.S. for my master's.
Gotcha. And what'd you get your master's in?
Social entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow! You built this app.
I wanted to do something good.
That's I'm giving you a virtual hug here.
It's the first hug I've had in days. I take it.
That is so cool, man. Because that says a lot about backbone and structure of your company. The fact that you, as the founder, and you're absolutely Brazilian people. I mean, you all are lovers. You all hug things. You're kissing people. You're feeding people. You're dancing. You got the crime, the favelas, but you all are very passionate.
We got a lot of good stuff, too.
No, that's what I'm saying, but that part carries over to your software, because that's a huge deal. Because most people are building software. The person goes to it, you're pitching people and saying, "Hey, it's going to make $1 billion, and this is how we're going to get $2, $3, $4 from 1 million people every year." And And here you are saying, "Hey, you know what? If you don't charge someone, we're not charging you." And that person can use. So just to reiterate, so if I'm a shelter over here in Chicago pushing out 20 dogs, per month, but we don't charge an adoption fee, you're not going to charge us. We're just using the software.
Yeah, effectively.
That's huge.
And in fact, during COVID, there's a high number of shelters who are just waiving all of their adoption fees, which means most of them are going for free, if not all of them. It's fine by me, if it can be helpful. And remember, this is a cycle. Treating people right does pay off over time. And it does mean it's a sacrifice right now. It is a sacrifice because it's more expensive to run, and then we're not covering the costs and all of things like that. But they will not be free adoptions forever. And then by the time that there is an adoption fee, there will be, I might be naive here and just hopeful, but there will be a point in which it's just fair. When they have an adoption fee, and they're like, no, let's make sure it runs through Adopets, because when was free, we were using it. Now let's make sure that they get you.
Wow, I love that. This is a perfect Sunday podcast, and you're like over there, Pastor Sousa. Treating people right pays off in the long term. And you're just dropping, you have so many one-liners you're dropping as far as being like a good human being, a great human being. And you're right. I mean, it's like now, certain people, I'm not charged. Because I know they can't pay for it, they can't afford it. Pay it forward. And give. And that's the only way we're going to get through this. We're only going to get through this by giving. That's for sure. And if you have the ability to do tech, if you have the ability to dog train or cook or anything, it's going to come down to that. I think that's the positive thing out of COVID, is that for the first time in world history that we are forced to come together. And everyone has to do the same thing, park further away to the person they got there later because they were getting the kids ready for school, or they were taking care of a sick mom or a sick dad, that they already running late to get them down. Just that's so simple.
And nobody really takes the time to think that through, It's always a judgmental on a negative aspect on how people, just accept, the things that other people are going through. It's a lot of things that, people could be going through that we know nothing about. So that's perfect. All of us could think that way.
Yeah.
And none of that is natural, right? We are not, I am very skeptical in the sense that I don't think that by nature we are inherently good. I actually don't think that it is. I think that
Yeah.
instinctively, as an animal, our tendencies are for self protection, and that's the nature
Yeah.
of our species in my mind. But being good requires a conscious choice on a daily basis. Is a conscious choice of, oh, somebody gave me $2 more on the exchange here, that I should give it back. It's a decision that I
Mhm.
have to make. It's easy to not have to decide. It's actually much easier to just suck as a person because you just don't care.
Yeah.
But it's a conscious choice at every step of the way, and nobody's perfect at that. I mean, I make plenty of bad decisions all the time, but
Mhm.
if at least we try as much as we can to just make one good decision a day, and we try to grow from there, I think maybe we can
Yeah.
certainly.
And it is
Yeah.
so powerful. You just make me want to go out and test some new technology and just find ways to, pay it forward and get it. Because I try to be like that just in general. But you just made me think of some things that when I lived in Zurich, Switzerland, I remember seeing this guy walking down the street and he stopped and picked up a cigarette butt. And I'm like, he's walking in front of me, and he had it in his hand, and he got to a garbage can. People just don't pick up trash. You'll see people just litter. But then secondly, people definitely don't say, oh, hey, here's Starbucks stuff. Or like right now, there's masks everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, no one's thinking,
Right.
oh, you know what? Let me pick this mask up, and put it in the trash. Because one, it just looks disgusting. I mean, it looks like a used condom. Like, they're like, ugh, there's like laying on the sidewalk. I've seen people. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. You see a little blue mask on the ground, you're like, ugh. Like,
Steer away from it.
mask right there. You know what I mean? But like, just thinking of ways to be great people and to help someone else that you don't even know, paying it forward. I know they did. Every now and then, I randomly would do this for people. And if there's someone standing behind me and I'm seeing that they're kind of struggling, I'd go ahead and pay for their meal and say, hey, whatever they're getting, just go ahead, and the person gets them like, they got a surprise, like, oh wow, that guy, wow. I mean, that really just helps that person out that day.
Mhm.
You never know what a person's
Yeah.
situation will be.
And Toriano, think about the fact that so much of it circles around. I remember when you you know better than I do. Being a minority in the U.S. has its own fun stuff happening to it. And mind you, I am Latino, but if I shut up and nobody hears my accent, they don't even know. So I still have the white positive, privilege in the sense that people wouldn't know that I am Latino if I'm shut up. My kids are white as hell. And my wife is white. If I'm just quiet, I'm just gonna pass by. So I don't get stopped by randomly and things like that. However, in work environments, that always played in a different thing because, of course, I have to speak, and then I am Latino by definition. And there was this cool thing that happened. I was already doing Adopets, and I was working on a day job, and I was driving to kind of get some extra on the side. And I remember driving this kid. This kid was leaving his MBA class, and we were chatting, and then I was talking about Adopets, talking about what I was doing, things like that, and this kid was like an ass, like thinking so superior because well here I am. Now he's talking about business, but he's driving Lyft, and all of that. Literally 7 months later, he applied for a job that I was hiring for, and he didn't know what.
Wow.
And then I'm like, oh hey buddy, how are you? Do you remember me? And I actually hired him. But it's just we don't know how it's in one way or another. We always pay for it, positively
Yeah.
or not.
Brother, I really appreciate you on this Sunday, man. You got me pumped up, ready to go out and change the world today. With all that's happening, we needed this today on this. God is great. I believe in energy, and nothing happens accidentally. Which is why I want to send a huge shout out to Dana Jane, who's an amazing human being, and she
Cheers.
virtually co-produced the entire month of August, just like boom, who brought us together because she knew we needed to be.
She is a badass, awesome person, and she's one of great example of paying forward. Dana has found many ways of trying to support us and helping us, and she's never asked for.
Before we end the show, can you just tell people where they can go get that? Oh, I want to ask you this question. So, can a person just download the app and then use that as their like searching for dogs? Like,
Yeah, actually, we stepped away from the apps and we made our platform completely compatible to any device on the browser. So if you go to Adopets.org, which is Adopets.org, you actually can search for animals you save. You have your favorites. Whenever your favorite animals are adopted, you get a notification that that animal is no longer available. You can create an account, interact, do a full application and process of adoption from your phone, any phone, without having to download an app whatsoever. Just getting on the browser, Adopets.org, and that's it.
so I have to put you on the spot. Like I'm putting everybody on the spot over you. So, would you be our guest on January 2nd, 2021?
Is that putting me on the spot? That's like giving a gift. Yes,
Aw.
man. Count on me. I'll be there.
Yay.
Is that a yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo! I love because we're already going into January 2nd, just man. Hey, brother, I love you, man. I just want to say, like, you are a beast. What you're doing God's work, and I mean this. You got me pumped up for today. Go do some great good stuff. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Chanelly Nell, as always, helping us make this amazing. Mi hermano,
Thank you, Artur.
all the way out there, Artur Sousa,
Perfect.
right? And I want to thank Humphrey. I want to thank Rejoice, the whole crew in the back end, Tyrone Scott, my mama, my aunt Tamara, everybody, my son, Barakat, and Jazz. Out and love somebody because you have to. It's the right thing to do. Toriano Sanzone, the Wolfkeeper. Remember, there's only one alpha dog, and that's you. Y'all tomorrow.
Peace and love, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Artur.
All right.
Thank you, Chanel.
Have a good day.
Chanel.